Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fish Tank. Today we're going to look at the two new cards that were just added to Minion Masters. So we're now in version 1.49. This is the Vanguard update. So today we're going to look at the two new cards that are added. We're going to look at them on paper and then we're going to have a look at them in action. Let's dive in. So the first new card, Prime Sergeant Raddick. He's a 7 mana Outlander ranged minion, so 600 health, so reasonably tanky, and does 135 damage. But the way he does his damage is different to how other minions do their damage. So instead of doing 135 single hit, his attack is a blast with his shotgun blaster. And this blast is in a cone, and within that cone are a number of projectiles. There are 9 projectiles in total, each doing 15 damage. So what that means is if he's really close to something, then the likelihood is that all those projectiles will hit that close target, and he'll do the maximum 135 damage. But if he's attacking something a little bit further away, then maybe some of the outer projectiles in the cone will not actually hit that main target. They may be wasted. They may also hit something else in the back line. So that's just something to pay attention to when you're positioning him. Now, speaking of positioning, the reason we mention that is he has a rocket jump ability. So this is kind of similar to Setsu. So he can reposition himself in the battlefield. Has a reasonable range, and like all abilities, it costs more the more you use it. So the first time you use it, it costs 1 mana, the second 2 mana, and so on and so forth. It also does a little bit of damage when he lands, so a small area doing 25 damage, so clearing some horde potentially. So it should be an interesting card, some potential skill expression with repositioning within battles to make the fight be in your favour, whether that be jumping back, taking a bridge, trying to reposition yourself from a top lane to the bottom lane, or maybe jumping back behind a tank, something like that. So that should be interesting to see. He does do reduced face damage, which is fairly unusual for a minion. We've seen a lot of spells that do reduce face damage. This is a minion. And currently he does 27 face damage in total if he's close and all of his projectiles hit face. So very small face damage on this chap. So that's Prime Sergeant Raddick. That's the first card. The second card is the Rapid Response Reserves. Now this is a 2 mana defensive spell. So defensive spell means you can only play it in your side of the field. But it's going to give you either 6 Plasma Marines, 3 Drone Buzzers, or 1 Siege Breaker. And I believe the way it works is that you will get one of these randomly for the first cycle, and then it will follow in this order going forward. Now, what you might be thinking is 2 mana for a bunch of value seems like a good thing. Well, it is, but there's a second side to this, if you like, and that is that your opponent's cards also get discounted. So whilst you're getting a lot for your 2 mana, you're also effectively giving your opponent 4 mana because all of the cards in their hand, all 4 of them, get discounted by 1 mana. Now that's only the current version of that card. Once it's played, it will then go back to its normal cost, of course. Now, one thing I thought is interesting here is if you're very eagle-eyed, you may notice that the spell icon here, it's actually using the Mountain Gale spell icon. Not quite sure why. Maybe that'll be fixed before live. I don't know. I noticed it. Maybe you noticed it. If you do enjoy these spell icons, I did make a video. We'll put a link to it somewhere about trying to guess from these spell icons what the spell is. And despite having played this game for thousands of hours, it's actually surprisingly difficult. And one thing to note about this Rapid Response Reserves is only 1 copy allowed. Okay, so that's the 2 new cards on paper. Let's have a look at them in practice. Okay, we've just thrown together an Outlander deck, and we're going to have a quick game against the bot to have a look at the 2 new cards. So we can see the Rapid Response Reserves. It's showing us here that we're going to get the Marines, the Plasma Marines, if we use it this time. And let's have a look at Prime Sergeant Raddick. So we can drop him in. Has a kind of a cool animation as he drops in there. And see, there you see his attack in the cone, spreading out, hitting multiple things. You can see in the middle there, it doesn't really hit too much. So he needs to get closer to things to make it more valuable. So here we can potentially use our repositioning tool, moving back to the top lane. Let's try and get some rapid response reserves in. Those 6 Marines try to help us out. Let's put some Nats on Raddick there. And now you can see the rocket jump is up to 2 mana. So maybe we could jump down to the bottom lane here and go again. And then next time, when we get the rapid response in our hand, we should have a different unit being produced. This time we can see we're going to get the drone buzzers. And that's pretty much it. As you can see, the ability to move around the battlefield with Raddick should be a lot of fun. Okay, let's pause this here and jump back out. Okay, so those are the 2 new cards, Prime Sergeant Raddick and the Rapid Response Reserves. Let me know what you think about them. And I'm really looking forward to seeing people use these, see what kind of cool strats people can get their hands on in a potentially high skill expression card. As always, if you're enjoying the content here in the fish tank, make sure you hit the follow button, actually also known as the subscribe button on YouTube. And keep up to date with all things Minion Masters related. I'm Bad as a Fish, and as always, I'm awkwardly waving.